about the diversity of Muslims, and I'm curious to how Muslims look at one another. As an outsider, I think we tend to generalize the group. You know, we lump everybody together, the Muslims there, the Christians there, the Jews there. But I'm curious to how, if you are Muslim, how do you relate to one another given the diversity within the group?
Yeah. Well, the relationship is that the religion itself clearly says, and everyone at least verbalizes it, that all Muslims is one brotherhood. In fact, it uses the word ummah, it's one community. And there is a saying of the Prophet which says, the Muslims are like a single body. When one part hurts, the whole body hurts. And Islam, it says, Islam is what protects other Muslims from harm from you. Okay, so they see each other as a single body, as supporting each other, respecting each other, honoring each other. At a higher level, in fact, than the basic requirement, which are in the same surah from which I read this morning for you, that says all human beings must be treated with dignity. Okay, because God created, the Quran says, all people with dignity, gave them honor. So they see each other as one people, but with all the different political and geographical and so on agendas. So you may have people within the same. Afghanistan, for instance, consists of many, many tribes. They have always fought with each other. It's nothing new. In Afghanistan, which is, by the way, a new construct, the current boundaries go back to only about 150 years. And parts of it were sometimes part of India, parts of it were part of Iran, and Iran was sometimes part of Afghanistan. So it was kind of back and forth. But it still consists of tribes. And they fight with each other. They're usually territorial fights. And, sometimes petty things. My mountain is more beautiful than your mountain kind of stuff. But when it comes to thinking of each other as Muslims, then the brotherhood comes in. And that is why people should be very careful on, when the U.S., I'll give you an example again on Afghanistan, because it's not settled. We think like it's settled, but it's not settled. When the Americans started buying into the myth that the Pashtuns are a minority, 38% they started saying. In fact, no one who actually sits down and adds it will believe that, because there are Pashtuns in the areas that you think of as Tajiks and Uzbeks and so on. So they're probably 60%. But regardless, all of the Pashtuns combined in Afghanistan are less than the Pashtuns in Pakistan. So if you do something that is unacceptable to the Pashtuns in Afghanistan, that doesn't settle it. Because the Pashtuns in Pakistan will not accept it either. And the two combined is a huge group. Okay? So understanding the ethnicities and how the things go together, it is not an accident that you could have 3.5 million people cross the border and stay for more than 10 years with the people supporting it. They didn't just do it because they were Muslims. They did it because they considered them as of same people, same language, and same ethnicity, if you wish. So it was more than just religion. So the things go more deeply than that, and that is why the Kurds, you cannot call them Arabs because they say we are not Arabs. On the other hand, they are Sunnis. So when we say the Sunnis in Iraq are a minority, that's a lie. Because you have to count the Arab Sunnis and the Kurd Sunnis, and the two combined, no one knows the numbers anymore. But they may be maybe 50%, we don't know. The Shias have been having more babies since the revolution in Iran So maybe the numbers are higher, but no one knows the numbers. So ethnicities also play a part. So it is not a simple answer. Maybe I'll add one other thing to this, and that is that one of the problems the modern educated people have, since we have again bought this scientific terminology or scientific myth, which is supposed to be objective and this and that, and for someone who has a PhD and 2 masters in science, I can tell you it's a myth. Science is never done the way they tell you it is done. And scientists are not that objective people. They fight with each other and they have tremendous egos and they hate each other and all that kind of stuff. But the bad thing science does to you is it makes you think in binary terms, as if we are computers. It's either yes or no, it's on and off. In this binary logic, linear algebra, if you wish, right? You fit everything to a straight curve, but put more and more terms to it so you can have deviations and so on, is what creates the problem. The majority of the extremists among the Muslims were not trained in the traditional Islamic schools. The overwhelming majority of the extremists, going back to the leadership of the Ikhwan, to the Jamaat-e-Islami and so on, with the exception of Maududi himself, even though he himself was a very westernized person. They were not trained in and he himself was not trained in a traditional Islamic school. They were not trained in the traditional Islamic settings. They are all Western educated. Physicians, engineers, scientists, computer people, and so on. So what happens is that they start thinking in this binary term, yes, no. So when you ask me the question, the answer is, it's not a yes, no answer. Okay? The philosophers, by the way, have no problem with this. When I used to spend a lot of time with the Jesuits, it was very clear to them. The only time they got trapped is when we talked about the Trinity. But the mystery of revelation, so you're not going to discuss it anymore. But the philosophers have no problem in saying the answer is not just yes or no. Okay? That more than yes and no can happen simultaneously. So the same is true, I think, in religion. People are not computers. Okay? So all kinds of complicated things go on.